G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my experience going to a Trackman driving range. How did it compare to my MLM2 Pro? How did it compare to my Garmin, to my Foresight? How was the experience overall? I'm going to get into all of that in this video. Alright guys, so like I said, a local driving range next to my house has just upgraded 8 of its bays, and they're going to do more of the bays to Trackman Range. I didn't really know what to expect with Trackman Range. I haven't really watched a lot of videos on it. I didn't really know anything about it. So I went there with an open mind. I did take my Rapsodo MLM2 Pro and I set my MLM2 Pro up behind me at the driving range and try to compare the two side by side. This was chaos. I mean, I've put a picture up behind me, and as you can see, it looks like there's no one there. However, let me tell you, it was packed. There was about 80 people down there at this driving range, and I have a Pixel, so all I've done with the picture is I've just done the magic erase and taken out all the people. That's why there's some blurry images in certain parts of the photo. It was absolutely packed at this driving range. So I did try and compare it to the Rapsodo. As you would expect, technology, nothing really worked out. I was getting disconnects with the Trackman to my phone. I was getting disconnects from the Rapsodo to my iPad. I had people waiting for me because they wanted to hit balls in the bay. So it got a little bit chaotic. But what I did do is I did get some sets in and I did get some data to actually compare. I will say, I do think I was getting a bit of interference with my Rapsodo because you got to remember, like, there's a lot of radar and a lot of things going on. And so you're potentially going to have interference from two different devices operating on the same frequency, trying to do the same thing. So I will give the Rapsodo the benefit of the doubt. I am going to individually take it to a separate driving range and do a full test outside with the unit, because I think using it on this Trackman range wasn't a good environment for it. The other thing I'll say about Trackman range and using all launch monitors at driving ranges, they're not going to be ideal because it's only going to be as good as the golf balls you're hitting. And you've got to remember that when you're trying to capture data and capture accurate data that you can take on course, when you start using range balls that are basically one-piece balls designed to go nowhere, it's going to affect the data that you get on your shots. So spin rates are going to be different, carry distances are going to be different, vertical launch, peak heights, all this stuff's going to be different. A big thing that's going to be different is ball speed. These balls are designed to not go very far. And the reason they do that is so the driving range can be shorter. So when you actually get down there, when you first interact with the software, it prompts you to download the Trackman app, which I did. So the Trackman app, I'll put that on screen. And the Trackman app is really cool. You can actually use the software on the screen itself, or you could use your phone as the interface. I did try and use my phone as the interface to capture the data, but like I said, I was then having lots of disconnection issues, so I had to revert back to using the actual screen at the driving range. Having said that, when you do that, all of the data syncs into your phone anyway. So opening up the Trackman app, this is the screen you're met with. You've got range practice, find my distance, you've got range tournaments, you've got different games you can play, and then you've also got a little demo of the app. So you've got quite a lot of things you can do. You also have the indoor version. So if you have a Trackman indoor, obviously you can do browse all the courses and whatnot. So one of the cool things about the app and actually syncing up and using your profile on the system that's on the driving range. So all these black boxes that you can see behind me, those are all the TV screens, and that's how you interact with the Trackman software. You can click this quick login QR scanner just on the screen there, and it'll pop up, and you can actually use that to scan on one of these TVs in your bay, and that's how you log into your Trackman account on those screens on the range. So it's really quick and it's really easy to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step through my sessions. So if I go to activities, you can see I did a fair few random sessions on the actual Trackman software itself. Like I said, I was having a few disconnects issues. It was playing up. I was getting random yardages with my Rapsodo. I'll talk about that in a minute. But these are the sessions I had. Like I said, I did play 9 holes. I did play Royal St. George's. I had to play a links course, of course. And we'll pop in and have a look at that round now. But what you can see is my scores on all the holes, and you can actually see where I hit the ball. So, I mean, it's really cool and it's really good software. The interface itself, using these screens at the range, it wasn't perfect. And what I mean by that was there wasn't like a view where you could zoom in and look at the fairway. So you kind of had just to eyeball it. And I guess that's like real life. Like realistically, that's like real life. I mean, you can't go and look down the fairway in real life. So it kind of played like real life. Looking at the round, you can see the first hole there, I've hit driver off the tee, hit a wedge in and made 2 putts. The putting is auto putt. So just be aware the putting's auto putt. Looking at the next hole, you can see I hit driver out to the right of the fairway. Again, the same distance, and then hit a lob wedge over the green. And then I chipped over the green again. The chipping was very different to indoor, what I'm used to on GS Pro. The chipping was different. Again, you're using a range ball, so it wasn't perfect, but it was good fun and it got me practicing. Ended up bogeying the second. Third hole was a par 3. I hit 5-iron, just left of the green, chipped up, made the putt or auto putt for a par. Looking at the fourth hole, it was a par 4, 283 yards off the tee, and then a 7-iron. It was into the wind, and that's one thing I will say. There was wind as well, and that was pretty cool because it did make these shots feel more realistic. And I was standing on that driving range, I was envisioning what I was hitting, and I had wind slightly off the left. It felt really cool and it felt like a real game of golf. The tracking of the golf ball was actually fantastic. If I hit the ball right, it would go right. If I hit the ball left, it would go left. The tracking was absolutely spot on. It was fantastic. I was lucky because I was in Bay 8, which was right at the end. No, it was Bay 8 was this one. So I was in Bay 8 and it was right in the middle of the driving range, so it was perfect for me. I waited for that spot to be free, but it worked out quite nicely that I could just use that center line to hit straight down the range. So that was the 9-hole experience. It was a lot of fun. I do then have a lot of other random sessions that I had. So I'll jump into my final session of the day, and this is where I started to try and get a bit more data. So I'll jump into that now. So you can see I hit 3 clubs. I hit pitching wedge, 7-iron and 4-irons. And what I was trying to do here is just get a gauge and just trying to see how far these distances compare to inside using my Rapsodo or my Foresight or my Garmin. And the thing is, like I said, you're using range balls. So Trackman are going to be using an algorithm to artificially boost these yardages to make them more realistic. The yardage I was seeing the golf ball travel in real life was not the yardage being reported through Trackman. So especially driver, because these range balls are notorious. The more you compress the range balls, it's a single piece ball, the shorter they will go. So with driver, they felt horrible off the face. And I would hit driver, I'd see the ball go, it would carry probably 220 to 230 yards in real life. And then on Trackman, it would say 280. So just be aware that they're using an algorithm based on the range balls. So let's look at this. So if we go and look at these pitching wedges, you'll see that all my pitching wedges, funnily enough, work out to be 136 yards carry. I mean, anyone that's watched my channel for longer than a minute knows pitching wedge for me, 136 yards. So pretty cool. It was really good to actually see that. You can see all the peak heights of the balls as well in feet, so that's also really good to see. Let's jump now to the 7-iron shots. So we'll bring these up. And we had an average carry of 169 yards. Everybody knows that again, that's watched my channel, 170 to 174 is a solid 7-iron for me. So I didn't hit a couple of these perfect, but I left them in anyway. But you can see on a solid hit, I had 172 yards, 171 yards, 170 yards. So the algorithm that they're using is actually really accurate. Again, peak heights all look pretty good. The data was accurate. Okay, now let's look at 4-irons. So 4-iron here, average carry, 202 yards. I didn't hit these perfect. However, the one I did hit good carried 207 yards, 203 yards, 206 yards. So for average carry, this is actually quite accurate. My 4-iron indoors I have at about 207 to 208 yards carry on a good shot. I can absolutely button it and carry it 215, 214, but that's when I absolutely nail it. I swing quick and I hit it right out the middle. But for me, 207 yards on a good hit, that's accurate for me. Let's talk about driver. So driver for me, you saw my drives on the on-course play. Driver for me, it was just really odd using driver on Trackman Range. I'm really not a fan of hitting range balls with driver. I just don't like it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into one of my sessions here. I'll jump into this session and we'll open this up. And what you can see is driver, the average carry was 271 yards. Most of my misses were right. So if I was going to miss it, I was missing right. I do think I was aimed slightly right when I was hitting it. However, all of those shots, I'll pull them up now. I had some bad ones in there. I had some good ones in there. So the good ones were carrying 282, 280, 279. So there were some good drives in there and there were some bad drives in there. Overall though, the driver distances, the algorithm that the Trackman Range is using is actually fantastic. It's really accurate. For me, 282 yards, 163 miles an hour ball speed, that's accurate. That's me. So these numbers are all accurate. Okay, so let's talk about this little thing here that says convert. So this is the algorithm. This is what Trackman's saying the ball would have done with a premium ball. If I deselect convert, it's going to show you what the golf ball actually did with the range ball. So that drive that I hit 282 using the Trackman algorithm, if we take off convert, it actually flew 262 in real life. So if you wanted to get the actual data from the range ball itself, or you were going to use premium golf balls, if you took your own Pro V1s down there or your own Callaway balls, whatever you want to use, and hit them, you can do that. You just have to deselect convert. However, with the algorithm, that makes it a bit more realistic to what you'd see in real life. Okay, so that was the Trackman Range. Let's talk about the Rapsodo now. How did the Rapsodo go? I'm not going to lie, it didn't go very good. Let me explain. I had the Rapsodo set up, like I said, behind me. I think I was getting interference because it just wasn't performing that well. It was okay with 7-iron and even potentially driver. The pitching wedges though, the pitching wedge was horrendous. It was telling me I was carrying at 150. I'll jump into the session. Okay, so I'll switch over to the iPad. For whatever reason, the session that I did hasn't synced over to my phone. So jumping over to the iPad, I'll pull up my session now. I had 72 shots, as you can see. I did have a few disconnects. I was using the direct connect, obviously, because I didn't have the Wi-Fi. But I'll jump in now and I'll show you the session. And the first thing you'll notice at the averages at the top, they're way off. I mean, pitching wedge at 145, 7-iron had 175, 4-iron's quite accurate with 199, driver 215. So what I'll do is I'll jump into the pitching wedges first and we'll kind of analyze these. I was just seeing some odd things and I think it might have been interference. Okay, so take this with a big grain of salt. I'm going to go out and do a separate session with the Rapsodo. I was just trying to get a direct comparison between the Trackman and the Rapsodo unit on the same day. Pitching wedge 145. I mean, that's just wrong. I don't carry a pitching wedge 145 yards. So we'll jump in and have a look at some of these swings as well. Data wise, not really impressed with the Rapsodo. I was using the Rapsodo range and I also did try just the practice range. So I'll jump in and show you that now. If I go to sessions, I hit 3 pitching wedges just in the normal range section. And it went 147, 145, 143, which is just not accurate. So I'll jump in and show you these swings. This was actually on the Trackman range. So like you can see, the golf balls themselves, not great. In terms of the ball flight, the shot tracer is absolutely fantastic. The shot tracer on the Rapsodo was 100%, no, it was 99% accurate. One shot was incorrect on the shot tracer and it was a driver that I hit pretty straight and it showed a big fade on the shot tracer. Apart from that though, the shot tracers on the Rapsodo were really good. So what I'll do is I'll just jump over to impact vision as well, and we'll have a look at that. You can see coming through, good connection and a good shot. This is a major selling point to me with the Rapsodo. I think this is fantastic. So I'll show you another shot here, 145 yards carry. I was quite lucky. I was in the middle of the range, but again, shot tracer, incredibly accurate. Just the carry distance was wrong. I did try and set this up on range ball mode. I tried to just do a premium golf ball. The ranges, the carry distance was wrong. The actual data though, the ball speed, the launch angle, the club speed was exactly what the Trackman Range was telling me. So the actual data was correct. It's just the carry distance, the algorithm was incorrect. Okay, let's go back to the session because we'll dig into this a bit more. 7 irons, 175, that's not too far off the mark. And these yardages all look pretty close to what the Trackman Range was telling me. There is an outlier there, 187 yards, which if you look at the data itself, the club speed itself was the same. Ball speed was 2 miles an hour quicker or 3 miles an hour quicker than average. So potentially that golf ball was just a better golf ball. The thing that you've got to take with a grain of salt, you cannot try and get accurate data when using range balls because they're just not good. It's just not going to give you valid data. Okay, so that was a 7 irons. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Let's look at 4 irons. 4 irons actually look pretty legit. And this, honestly, this data is almost usable. We've got an average carry of 199 yards, which is a few yards short of where I would expect. But in saying that, I've got some bad shots in there and I've got my good shots, which the best shot there, 207 yards. So I mean, that data is almost usable. Okay, so jumping into driver, and I have to admit, I have to say, these are not all driver shots. So you can see in there when I was hitting drivers, and then I switched into playing on-course play. So you can see some of this data is a bit skewed. So if you look at average driver distance, it's probably more up at about 260, just looking at the actual drivers that I hit. Looking at club speeds, again, 110, 111, 112, 112.5. So, I mean, 109. Those are kind of my club head speeds that I have. And then the associated ball speeds out of that are obviously down because it is a range ball. So take that with a grain of salt. Not all the data is accurate there. I will say if we look at drive 11, I'll highlight that 110 miles an hour club speed, 159 ball speed gives 268 yards. That's actually pretty accurate data. That's kind of the carry I would expect out of that ball speed. However, saying that, 110 club head speed, if that was a solid shot, I would expect the ball speed to be more around 162, 160. So overall, the experience with the Rapsodo wasn't great. I will go to a driving range and do a full in-depth test just with the Rapsodo unit because, like I said, you can't really compare two units side by side, head to head with the exact same shots, just because you don't know whether you're going to get some sort of interference. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, let me know. If you got any comments or questions, let me know down below and I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.